The first time that Wade Robson alleges that he was abused by Michael Jackson was in January 1990. The Robson family went to Record One Studios while Michael was working on the album that became Dangerous. And Michael said, why don't you come up to Neverland for the weekend? To the whole family, the whole Robson family. So that was Wade, Chantal, his sister, Mother Joy and her parents, Wade's grandparents, all whisked up to Neverland for the weekend. They stayed for 2 nights, the whole family, and both Wade and Joy Robson said under oath that those first 2 nights, Wade and Chantal slept with Michael in Michael's bedroom. Nothing happened. Wade says in the documentary, nothing happened.
And I've slept in the same bed as Michael. It's just you watch cartoons, you fall asleep. It's just a friendship. And I know he would never do anything to hurt my brother. He's the nicest guy you've ever met.
I've been there when these kids have been in Michael's room. I've been there with them. It's just party time. They watch videos, they eat junk food, they play video games. They play so hard, they fall asleep. They're exhausted, they fall asleep.
Yeah,
There's nothing more to it than that.
From your standpoint, does it seem unusual for a 34-year-old man to have kids sleeping over?
Not when you know Michael's background. Under normal circumstances, possibly yes. But Michael, everybody knows he didn't have a childhood.
Then the rest of Robson's family went away to the Grand Canyon. Wade says that after the first couple of nights, he saw Michael hunched in a corner crying because he didn't want the Robson family to leave him. But the Robson family was touring America at the time. So the story goes that Wade stayed at Neverland and the rest of the family went away to the Grand Canyon, leaving little 7-year-old Wade Robson alone at Neverland. And he says that slowly, as those days went on, he was abused by Michael Jackson for the first time. And goes into real vivid detail about that. This whole story that happened that first time, that first weekend. So I had a source who could provide me with some court transcripts. Joy Robson, a deposition from '93. And I discovered that during that deposition, Joy Robson said that, we went to Neverland for the weekend, the whole family. Stayed a couple of nights, and then the whole family then went off to the Grand Canyon. So I didn't leave Wade behind. She then said that again in 2016 in a deposition for the civil lawsuit, which is very odd because Wade's whole story is, I was left behind while my family went off to the Grand Canyon. But Joy Robson says that the whole family went, naming Wade as having gone with them. And Joy has also previously testified under oath that the first time Wade was alone with Michael at Neverland was '93. And then in a totally different case, Wade Robson in 2005 also says, first time I was alone with Michael was in 1993. So you've got these statements made by both Joy and Wade under oath on 3 or 4 occasions where their story is, we stayed 2 nights, we went off to the Grand Canyon, all of us. Wade Robson has never been at Neverland alone until 1993. It's not just getting dates mixed up because Joy Robson was an adult in the early 90s and she gave this deposition 2 years after the first Neverland trip. She would have remembered then, that first weekend in Neverland. Wade came with us to the Grand Canyon. So it's not 15 years later, oh, did he, didn't he? No, they said Wade came with us to the Grand Canyon. Why would you then lie about that? In the Leaving Neverland documentary, James Safechuck gives this detailed story about how he was abused in different places around Neverland by Michael Jackson, including the Grand train station, which people will know because of the floral clock in front of it. It's quite an iconic piece. So he goes into this detail about how he was abused in a room upstairs, and pictures appear on the screen. So it's definitely that train station. And he says it happened every day. And he says how it's something that happens when you first get into a relationship and things are exciting. That to me would indicate that he's talking about the start of when he was abused by Michael Jackson, allegedly. So his time period where he alleges he was abused, again, signed 2 sworn declarations under penalty of perjury that he was abused between 1988 and 1992. until he was 14. The narrative of the whole thing is that I got too big, I got too old, Michael moved on. He started phasing me out and replaced me, essentially. So if we've got that timeline of I was abused between 88 and 92, the train station abuse must have happened during that time period. And a fan pointed out that the train station didn't open until 1994, by which time Safechuck was 16. They got a couple of pictures, a couple of Associated Press and Getty Images pictures, some footage of Neverland from '91, Elizabeth Taylor's wedding, and footage above Neverland from a helicopter, no train station. So the fans had established that. That prompted me to use my source to try and nail this down. Let's prove that this train station didn't exist until '94. So I managed to get hold of the construction permits, which showed that the train station was not approved for construction until September 1993. There was an image taken by a press photographer on the 25th of August, 93, from a helicopter. And his name is Stephen Starr, so he was working in an office in LA. The reason he was flown over Neverland on that day was because of the allegations, which had surfaced 2 days earlier. So, Steve, get yourself in a helicopter, take some pictures of Neverland from above. Those pictures show no train station. And I contacted Steve Starr personally, and he's confirmed that 25th of August, 93 is the correct date for when he took that picture. No train station. And then you've got the permits approved a month later. You've got real solid evidence that there was no train station until the building didn't begin until late 93. It opened in 1994. And Michael Jackson in 94 was living in New York to record the History album. A couple of reasons. To get out of California because of the DA going after him. And there was an earthquake in LA in early 94 and he was a bit scared about that. So he wanted to move the entire operation to New York. Michael Jackson wasn't in LA in 94. But the point being, you've got a 2-year discrepancy there. Safechuck saying, abuse stopped, I was 14, it was 1992. Going into vivid detail about abuse happening in a train station, in an upstairs room. That's a massive discrepancy. Those are the two main ones, Wade Robson in the Grand Canyon and Jimmy Safechuck, yeah, in the train station. And then we go back to Wade Robson's behavior in the civil lawsuit. Wade Robson files his lawsuit in, I believe it was March 2013. He's saying that he realized he was abused in May 2012. Under US law, you've got 60 days from the period of, knowing that you've been abused or realizing you've been abused to file a creditor's claim. But Wade Robson filed that 10 months too late. To get around that, he claimed, but I didn't know that the Michael Jackson estate was open for administration. So, I didn't know they existed. I didn't know who to sue. But then evidence came out in that case that Wade Robson was aware of the Michael Jackson estate because in 2011, he'd met with John Branca, the co-executor of the estate, about the Cirque du Soleil show. So the judge ruled that Wade Robson had lied in his sworn declaration, lying under oath, under penalty of perjury, just to be able to sue.
Neverland was built as a safety bolt hole where, no one could get in. I mean, it was a big property. It was the size of Hyde Park, the whole area of it. Then he had his movie theater built, which was like a 100-seater movie theater, beautifully done, like a small cinema with a big screen. Then he had his fairgrounds built for his own entertainment. Then he had his zoo, so that he had kind of everything.
But Neverland was not really a home for him. That was somewhere he would return to go back and to show himself. And it was built really for sick children. He would have like Make-A-Wish Foundation, coach loads of kids, thousands and thousands would go through there every year. And then he would make sure he'd try and show his face and come out to the kids and so on. He would fly in from wherever he is. Because being in Neverland's no good. It's in the middle of nowhere. He used to hate the drive from Neverland to Los Angeles. He had a permanent suite and an apartment at one stage in Los Angeles. He had a permanent place at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel called the Michael Jackson Suite too in the end, because he used to rent it out full time. He needed to be in the city and do business, not up in the valley. He was rarely there. A lot of people make this big deal about an alarm, that when you walk up to Michael Jackson's bedroom, you go along the corridor and an alarm goes off. That's completely true. Now, not only is that in Michael Jackson's house, since Michael's died, I've gone on to work for a lot of big superstars. They have alarms too, just the same thing. It's just a sensor, walks along, just in case it's an intruder in the night, they can get to their escape route. Michael made sure that was all in place, his security team. So whenever you walk, yeah, alarm bells would go off in Michael's room to say someone's approaching. And that was for him to weigh up, everything okay, it's the middle of the night, and so on. They also go on about this abuse room, the sexual secret room. And that angers me a lot, because for a start, let's talk about Michael's bedroom. It's 2 stories, it is massive, it's the normal size of a house, basically. And he does have a secret room, if you want to call it that. Now that room was built before he bought Neverland. He recorded a video called Say, Say, Say with Paul McCartney there. It was called Sycamore Valley then. And he liked the property so much, he liked the ranch, he wanted to buy it. And it's quite standard for houses of that magnitude to have panic rooms. And it had a panic room already built in there. And that's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about an abuse room, a sex abuse room, anything like that. That was where Michael went when the alarms went off, or when head of security or someone on Neverland alerted him to something's not right. He would run to and shut himself in, and he would have stuff in there that would entertain him, because he could be in there for some hours waiting for the police to turn up and so on, because Neverland's in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, he would have what's, Disney films and what may not be normal to normal people, but he ain't normal. He's Michael Jackson, he's been raised differently. Now, Michael was guarded as much as the president, literally. I mean, he's the most famous man on earth. So from a bodyguard's point of view, it's very hard to understand how these allegations could be true, because he was the most protected man on earth. He had security like the president. So if we talk about when we're on the road, you would have, you'd get there the day before, you'd do a recce of the hotel, you go through the fire exits and so on. You put security sensor mats outside his door or any entrance to wherever his suite is. You put a camera up top of his bedroom door, a camera outside the hallway door, a camera at the front, camera in the hallway. There'll be nobody coming either side. There'll be nighttime security, which was actually my brother-in-law, believe it or not, who would stand outside his door all night too. So it was unbelievable. Now, child abuse is a serious thing. It's a huge, serious matter. And I'm not here to discredit that in any way at all. I'm here to just prove from my side, from a bodyguard's point of view, and a friend who's been around Michael, how difficult it would have been for Wade and James to go unnoticed at any time, for them to have what they said done to them by Michael when there's so many staff around. I mean, it's unbelievable.
I think people have always had in their minds one way or the other, whether they believe he's innocent or guilty. I don't think I think once they have that idea in their head, no matter how much evidence is put forward, I don't think anyone's mind ever gets swayed. And I do think once you've got that image in your head, if you think that he's guilty, it doesn't matter how much evidence comes forward or how many people speak out and give their version of events. There's an image that the media, I think, want you to have of him. And it's almost like any evidence that comes out disproving what they've said, it's like they don't want to know. If you consider what there is out there that actually shows him in, an innocent light versus what doesn't. I mean, it completely is staggering how much evidence there is to support the fact that he is an innocent man, and people don't want to hear it. They really don't. He went to court, he was acquitted, his Neverland home was raided, the FBI investigated him for 10 years, and people forget about that, and when it's brought up, it's like they don't care, they don't want to hear that. I could make a claim that something's happened to me and people would believe it.
I don't think this is a deliberate hijacking or piggybacking onto Me Too. These allegations were first made way before that, 2013. What I do believe is that Me Too protects the documentary. The media are very, very scared, very wary of doing any investigation work or questioning this documentary whatsoever because of Me Too. Because, you know, we cannot challenge anymore. We cannot question alleged victims, which goes against all journalism. Journalism is about seeking the truth. If you upset some people, then so be it. So Me Too really protects Leaving Neverland, really protects Safe Chuck Robson and Dan Reed, because the media will not challenge the allegations. For example, the work I've done in the media, I know that people will probably look at that as victim shaming or being on the side of this alleged paedophile, but for me, that's not the case. If people see me as in a negative light because of the research I'm doing, so be it, because I want to seek the truth. I want to put this under the microscope and do my job as a journalist to try and seek the truth. The coverage in the media has been, again, so one-sided, and no journalist can be bothered to do their job. It's all copy and paste each article, and all this Michael Jackson needs to be cancelled. No challenge made whatsoever, because journalists are scared of the damage to their reputations. People think I'm defending Michael Jackson. Directly, I guess, yes, I am. But what I'm trying to do is balance what didn't happen from the beginning. So from the beginning, Dan Reed, the director, not investigating the claims, not making a balanced 50-50 documentary where we interview Robson and Safe Chuck and then we challenge them about all the different inconsistencies, about the lawsuit, about the financial motive.